Welcome to Moving Panels One Shot. This is where my guest and I have a nerdy little conversation. And we are continuing our conversation actually from last week's episode on Planet Hulk. Chad Smith is back, and we are going to discuss Planet Hulk in terms of Thor Ragnarok. So we've done a full episode on Thor Ragnarok. It's in the archives. I did it with Deanna Titshaw, excuse me. But since we just did Planet Hulk, and Planet Hulk is part of the Thor Ragnarok storyline, we're going to talk about whether or not it satisfied us as being a Planet Hulk storyline. Probably the closest we'll even ever get to a solo Hulk live-action movie again after The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. So that's what we're going to kind of discuss here. So it's not the most detailed, as we talked about in last week's episode, taking the comic, turning it into the movie, and what all they cut from the movie. And then now, obviously, for it just being an aspect of the Thor Ragnarok storyline, what the kind of elements they put into the Thor Ragnarok movie. So let's get into this, Chad. What are your thoughts about the way Planet Hulk was portrayed in Thor Ragnarok?
Well, honestly, I'll probably tip my hand pretty quick in that they flipped it. So Hulk is not obviously it's Thor Ragnarok, so he's the character who gets dumped onto Sakaar and we see him and all that kind of stuff. But they make Hulk the surprise hero that Thor in Ragnarok has to fight, and it's totally reversed in the books or the Planet Hulk movie. So you see Hulk have to fight either Silver Surfer or Beta Ray Bill, according to which iteration you're looking at. It clearly does not get enough of its due, I guess, as influencing Taika Waititi throughout the movie. So if you look at when Thor gets captured by Valkyrie, it's almost shot for shot the same. The little electrode deal that gets fired into Thor and he gets captured, and you have the almost exact same thing happen to Hulk when he shows up on Sakaar. It's just the Imperials, not a band of weird Ravengers that are just trying to pick up apparently either a meal or a fighter. But so it's a huge influence. But I think it's interesting how they kind of inverted it, and Hulk became the secondary character. I agree with you that it's probably the closest we're going to get to a actual Hulk movie. Which is a shame, because Planet Hulk was, to me, the best storyline as far as showcasing the Hulk as a standalone can do his own thing movie. So, or I guess movie and comic run.
And that's really why I wanted to do this one shot, because my follow-up question to you is, do you think they ruined it by putting Planet Hulk into the Thor Ragnarok movie?
Well, I guess I'll try to be positive first, right? You're supposed to be positive, negative, then positive. Let's make a sandwich. So, positives, I loved seeing the Hulk as the Gladiator Hulk. They nailed it visually on that aspect. Just you got that iconic comic, front panel with Hulk wearing the helmet and the armored sleeve, the whole 9 yards. So when Hulk shows up in full rage mode to fight Thor, it is awesome, and that part is epic. So you do get a lot of the feel of it, and obviously this has been well documented that Taika Waititi was trying very hard to give Jack Kirby and company like all the credit in the world for the visuals and the color palette, the whole 9 yards. So they covered it being comic-y very well in that sense. I guess where I would be critical is that it has shut down the possibility. I don't know. I won't say shut down, because there's some very clever people working for Marvel and Disney, so maybe they can have a return to Sakaar kind of situation that Hulk has to, free the people of Sakaar because he wants to. He's kind of freed up and can go back and do that. Full honesty, I think that this storyline in Thor Ragnarok is where I don't care for the Hulk in the MCU. Out of the core Avengers, he's my least favorite by the end of the run that we have. And a lot of that has to do with how he just gets totally weakened. He's not the rage monster of the comics that has to come to terms with trying to also be intelligent. They went completely the opposite way. He's just intelligent and has to kind of come to terms with also being strong. And so they diverged a lot from the comic book Hulk on that, and I don't want to be super critical about it. I love the movies, all that sort of stuff, but it's not my favorite. And so in that sense, I kind of do feel like they shut it down. And it's a shame because they gave you all the teasers. I mean, the pillar of champions that you see, and there's Beta Ray Bill, and there's, they gave you plenty of ammunition of cool stuff they could have done with it. So maybe I'm wrong, man. Maybe they can, kind of pull that one out of the fire. But wow, it seems like there's just a lot of material that kind of got swept off the table to make a Thor movie, but a very enjoyable Thor movie.
Yeah, but I'm with you with this was, again, we're kind of going outside of Thor Ragnarok, but this was the last really of the Hulk we really got to see in the MCU, because you get into Infinity War and the Hulk gets taken out almost immediately.
Refuses to show up after that. Yeah.
Refuses to show up for the whole rest of the...
Which, show me that in the comics. I mean...
Yeah. And then like you said, by Endgame, he's now Professor Hulk. Yeah. And he's more about, I'm just a really smart dude in this giant body.
And maybe this is a miscommunication between kind of the way that Taika Waititi was telling a story and then the Russo brothers having to kind of take that on and insert him into... Infinity War and Endgame, but I don't care for you have the juxtaposition of in Ragnarok we're getting set up for this neat story that you see in the comics that Banner is afraid that he's going to permanently become the Hulk, that the Rage Monster is going to take over if he transforms again, that's it. That he might be the Hulk forever. And then that just totally got undercut in Infinity War, like you were talking about, the whole... I'm not a fan of kind of how that storyline worked out. And I mean, basically he's only there to be marginally strong enough, and apparently the Infinity Stones just happen to be gamma radiation based, so he's the one that can snap everybody back into existence. But other than that, I don't know. I do like that it got honored on the big screen, so it's hard for me to complain too much because we live in this amazing age where these incredible stories that we've read since being a kid get told, so it's kind of cool that it even gets a nod, and to see those things on the screen are incredible. But if you can't tell yet, I really like the Hulk, and I really like the storyline, and I think it was done a little bit of a disservice.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I keep focusing on stuff that is away from Thor Ragnarok. But, then Endgame, when Hulk is the one who does the snap, and then he's got the injured arm the whole rest of the movie. And part of me, now that we've had a conversation about Planet Hulk, remembering that the spikes, are feeding off of him. Yeah. But it's like not too long after they feed off of one of his arms. And his arm does kind of shrivel up and whatnot. But then if he lets them stop, eventually his arm gets back to normal. So does he not have these regenerative powers in the MCU? I just...
Apparently
I do
not.
think they really sent Hulk onto a downward spiral with this movie, and it's so sad.
Well, you have him mocking himself. Like, probably my least favorite scene in the entire... that phase 4 or whatever you want to call it, is when the Hulk has to kind of mock himself, seeing himself in full Hulk mode from the Avengers movie sequence when they go back in time, and he has to rip off his shirt and throw a motorcycle, and he's like mocking himself. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about where they took that character, and I don't like it. So
yeah, and they made him very comedic in Ragnarok. Yeah. Even when he was Hulk, he's he's laughing at things that Hulk's doing and things that even Valkyrie, he's talking to Valkyrie as a kind of goofing off, and then when he turns back into Banner. So here's where I had a problem too, was when he does the, jumps out of the ship.
Yeah.
As funny of a moment that is, me, and this is a whole different conversation, is is the movie Incredible Hulk part of the MCU storyline? And is Edward Norton and Mark Ruffalo the same Bruce Banner? Part of me went, you did that in Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he does it again here, but they make it a comedic thing where it's just lifeless body
Right.
is just, laying there. I don't know. And you going back to what you said about the thing with Beta Ray Bill being on the Pillar of Champions, we forget the other two. We got Ares, Marvel's version of Ares, and we got Man-Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Are we not ever going to get to see Man-Thing?
Right.
Which are not, imagine.
Yeah, which to be fair are not from Planet Hulk, but they just set up so many things in that movie that thus far have kind of been unfilled. But I don't know how reliable this is. I've said a couple other things on the podcast that were rumors that turned out to be false. Snyder Cut, but but it sounds like Jeff Goldblum is actually signed back on to come and play Grandmaster again. So we very well could get a return to Sakaar. So I would be interested in seeing kind of a redemptive arc. Yeah, but
it would also make sense for him to show up in the Eternals.
Since he's an Eternal,
yeah,
you're not wrong. Yeah, so or is he going to show up as, what was it, Doug's roommate or whatever in the the featurette?
Yeah, the Team Thor and So going back to the Thor Ragnarok Planet Hulk adaptation connection, whatever you want to say, what were your thoughts about the adaptation of Korg and Meek?
Oh, what Meek? He's just
he's just a slug.
He's just some kind of bug thing that has knives for arms, apparently. Meek gets entirely wasted in this. He's probably the one character that I'm not a fan of in the movie adaptation of Planet Hulk to begin with, because he's such a better character in the comic books. But he's barely even named. But Korg, it's hard for me not to like that. Like, Taika Waititi's performance is hilarious, and it fits well overall in the movie. But it's not very true to the comics at all, which is fine. I mean, the MCU has taken license in several other places like that. I guess I'm not offended in that sense, but it is, kind of, I'm disappointed not to get to see his relationship with Hulk be developed. So
did you like the change of the look of Korg to make him look more rock-like and not like the Thing, which he more looks like in the comic?
Yeah, visually I think it's cool. I do like that as well as the performance. It's hard to really knock that, because as a total movie, I love Thor Ragnarok. I read some poll the other day that it's the most watchable, whatever that means, but most watchable of all the MCU movies. And I would probably agree with that. Like, I could just turn Ragnarok on a random Saturday afternoon and just let it play in the background and watch it. And every scene is totally watchable and fun and all that sort of thing. But if we're going to pick it apart, I do not care for this Korg in the context of wishing I got Planet Hulk and that awesome brother relationship that is developed with Hulk that brings him out of a deep, dark depression and is part of his growth and becoming a more human character.
Yeah, it was an interesting way to bring what it was probably a fan favorite storyline and a Hulk movie, I guess you would say, into a Thor movie. I wish they could have just done a Hulk movie, and whether it was Planet Hulk or not, I don't care. I kind of just want a Hulk movie.
Yeah,
give me another movie. Just give me something. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the Hulk comics as probably you are, Chad, but find me another storyline that we could do with the Hulk.
Yeah.
Now that he's Professor Hulk, I don't know if that changes things.
I would just like to see that redeemed somehow. Bring it back a little more towards comic book Hulk, the strongest Avenger, the rage monster that does nothing but get stronger the more you punish him, kind of thing. And we never really saw that Hulk. I don't know. Off the cuff, I would argue that Avengers is probably the best version of that Hulk. Just him rampaging against aliens. Like, that's the Hulk. You're just trying to direct this like agent of chaos, basically. And after
that was
that,
the big thing about the Avengers when Loki is taunting Tony, and he's like, "I've got an alien armada," or whatever he says, and then Tony replies, "We have a Hulk."
Yeah,
I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah, he's your trump
they
card.
They have the Hulk. Yeah, and even there at the end when Banner shows up, and I do love that he shows up on a little scooter, little Vespa. He shows up, and then he says, "All right, get into character," and he goes, "Well, that's the thing. I'm always angry." And then he turns into and it's this great moment. He turns into the Hulk, turns, and then just punches that giant, like, dragon-like creature. Just punches it. One shot, takes it down.
Yep.
And then for the whole rest of the MCU Infinity storyline, where did that Hulk go?
Yeah, he's just kind of on the decline after that. So, I don't know. Yeah, arguably Hulk's fight with Thor is kind of the end of the Hulk as he's written and known in the comics world. So
I mean, he does get to fight the giant wolf at the end, but
I even feel like that's honestly kind of a little bit of a slap in the face. Why is Hulk not going toe to toe with Hela?
Yeah,
I just he's just downplayed a lot, and I get it. The standalone Hulk movies lost a lot of money. They were not. They were not terribly well received, and it would be unpopular to do that. But I really feel like they did that character a disservice. It's such a more interesting character to really wade through, like, just the idea of this incredible rage monster versus kind of a hippie professor who's got some gamma powered super strength. So
we do, going into that rage monster, we do get to see a little bit of it again at the end of Thor Ragnarok when he just wants to attack Surtur.
Yeah. Which is one of the best jokes in the whole. No Hulk, no smash.
Yeah. So we do get a little bit more of it, but I totally agree. I think, I'm like you. Hulk is one of my favorite characters, probably out of the Marvel group. You mentioned the television show. It probably goes back to that because I grew up watching the Incredible Hulk television show with Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk, and so I love that character, and I really have hated the way he's been treated in the MCU and in these storylines, and
I know we keep going off of Ragnarok specifically, which was kind of what we were targeting, but I even dislike how the fake out that we got. We saw preview footage of the Hulk fighting against Thanos' army in Wakanda. And then, running with everybody else. And then we get the movie, and it's Banner in the Hulkbuster suit. And
see, that's the thing. And again, you're saying we're going off of Thor Ragnarok, but that's the thing. Thor Ragnarok was the pivot point.
Yeah, set up.
It was the pivot point for the Hulk in these storylines, and that's why it's so important to talk about it, because they're taking Planet Hulk, which was such a monumental storyline for the Hulk.
Yeah.
And they're taking that storyline out of the comic books, and they used it as this
to deflate the Hulk.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree with you.
Because now we've got this Hulk who's been beaten by Thor. He's been beaten by, I mean, of course, this happened before Thor Ragnarok, but he's been beaten by Tony in the Hulkbuster suit.
Right.
Then he gets just embarrassed by Thanos.
Yeah, I still have a problem with that too, but
I do too.
And then for him to not want to show up from then out. Like, I get the story point they were making in the sense that, like, you're making Thanos that bad of a dude. But no, like, the Hulk doesn't work like that. He just gets angrier. So
well, and I think that's part of it too. So Thor Ragnarok sets up, like you said, so much of the, Banner and Hulk. Hulk does not want to turn back into Banner. Banner does not want to be stuck as the Hulk. Then we get into Infinity War when Hulk just retreats, which makes no sense for that character. Just retreats and becomes Banner. And I've heard that this was intended, but it was cut out. But the whole thing inside of the Hulkbuster suit, when he's trying to turn back into Hulk, and Hulk keeps saying no, I've heard that there was supposed to be like a conversation going on between the two of them.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Gollum and Smeagol type thing. which I think would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because the other problem I have with us then getting Professor Hulk in Endgame is, where was that transition?
Exactly. Yeah. He just shows up later, and you get kind of this offhanded, like, yeah, I kind of figured some things out. Oh, okay. What?
Okay, yeah. I think that this was, as much as we love Planet Hulk, I think Thor Ragnarok it lifted up Thor, because Thor even became a predominant figure even when he goes into his depression in Endgame and all that. He gets the Stormbreaker, and he gets the big fight at the end of Thor Ragnarok. He does the awesome team-ups with Captain America in Endgame, and they work on Thor, and they just forget about Hulk.
Yep.
And I hated it.
Yep, I'm the exact same way. And I know you already made this point, but it's just worth repeating that they used arguably the Hulk's greatest storyline to pull the rug out from under him. So it is a big disappointment. I think that that has kind of passed. If for no other reason, I don't think that you're going to get a Planet Hulk that does it justice, in the sense that why would this, very at peace with himself Professor Hulk need to leave Earth? Like, why does he need to do anything? So, I don't know. It's movies. They can figure stuff out. They can write stuff in to do what they want, but it'd be a hard sell at this point to actually see his redemptive arc through Planet Hulk that you get in the animated movie and in the books, which would have been pretty amazing. I mean, even if they had just included that as they break out of Sakaar, that Hulk does something to free the captives, to free the gladiatorial slaves, all that sort of stuff. It would have been a cool little nod.
Yeah, that was my other thing, is they do that random thing where the Grandmaster sends everybody after. Well, but first it starts off with he sends everybody after them, talking about, get my champion back, you know. But then they do that post-credit scene where he's like, okay, we've had a great rebellion. And I'm going, when did the rebellion happen?
Yeah.
When did they turn against you? When did they rise up? When did they free? You've left out so much of this story. I'm fine with the Grandmaster replacing, the Red King. I'm fine with not having all the intricate details of the spikes and the Warbound and Hulk getting his own family. I'm fine with, but don't make a mockery out of what is one of the greatest storylines in Marvel Comics, in my opinion.
Well, and if you think it through, like, Hulk really does not get in. I'm even, the more I think about it, the more frustrated I am with Professor Hulk, in the sense that why would he have found any peace? He still doesn't find any kind of family. He acknowledges that he's kind of getting used by Thor to go and try to retake his homeworld, that sort of thing, but he doesn't get any redemption from the anger and loneliness that drove him to Sakaar in the first place, that Sakaar should have been part of the healing and allowing him to trust again and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's very frustrating.
And they completely blow off. They establish from the first Avenger movie the relationship that is developing between him and Natasha.
Yeah.
And whether that's going to go anywhere or not, they develop a relationship. And then you even have it in this movie when he sees the video that she recorded for him. And then you get into Endgame, he's Professor Hulk, and of course they just kind of end that by him telling them, I did everything I could to bring her back. Yeah,
he throws a bench, Laramie. He was very upset. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm just like you're saying, that should bring us back the Raging Hulk.
Yep.
Is the fact that they took away the one person that he developed a relationship with. But again, we can just keep going off on this. Obviously, Chad and I are very passionate about that character.
Not big fans of Professor Hulk in the MCU. So.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if they'll bring him into She-Hulk when She-Hulk comes into Disney Plus.
Yeah, who knows?
We'll see what happens. All right, well, thanks, Chad, for the conversation. I appreciate it, and of course, you and I, as always, could probably talk for hours on just one topic.
Of course.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. Again, follow us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok @Moving Panels. You can email us movingpanels@gmail.com. give us a listen and give us a follow and speak to us and let us know how you feel. Rate us, review us on iTunes. Love this show if you're listening. Let it be known. For Moving Panels, I'm Laramie Wells, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
Hello movie viewers and fellow movie lovers. My name is Tim Williams and I'm the creator and host of Movie Views Presents the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. See, I love the 80s and I have a great appreciation and nostalgic passion for the classic 80s flicks that birthed my love for movies and ultimately helped shape my childhood. On each episode, I'll discuss, with a special guest co-host of course, a different film from the 1980s. We'll share memories, favorite characters, iconic scenes, and even share some behind-the-scenes stories along the way. We'll discuss famous blockbusters like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Coming to America, Ghostbusters, Dirty Dancing, Top Gun, Die Hard, and many, many more. As well as some other cult classics and even lesser-known flicks we discovered on cable TV or the now-defunct video rental stores. Remember those? No matter what 80s flick we choose to talk about, we'll always have a good time, so come and check us out. You can find the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast on major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and more. Be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss a single episode. Once again, I'm Tim Williams, and I hope you'll join me for the next 80s Flick Flashback.